Being a human sure is interesting, isn't it? Like, we just go from being born to being a kid to, at some point, discovering God and truly knowing Him, those that do. And when you really try and think about it, it's really hard to wrap your head around. Like, wait a minute, you're telling me that we aren't the greatest creator or creation or whatever you want to say, the greatest species, I guess, the greatest beings to exist. It's like, wait a minute, you're telling me there's something higher in, like, way incredibly higher power than us. Like, there's a God and He created us and everything. And it's like, it's so easy for us to want to, like, wonder, like, how in the world is that possible? But we're only thinking from our perspectives, because once you put God into the equation, well, anything's possible. How could we, as tiny little humans, possibly begin to comprehend God when we're like little ants? How in the world could a tiny little insect with its tiny little insect brain, if they even have brains, possibly begin to comprehend how a human works? How a human is able to do things? Try explaining math or science or absolutely anything to an insect. It is not capable of learning our power, what we're capable of really anything other than what an ant does. You see where I'm going? How in the world, like, if someone doesn't believe in God because they're just like, nope, I can't believe it, I can't comprehend that, that's too much, like, that's too hard to believe. You're that ant trying to comprehend a human. You're not capable of it, because that human is infinitely more greater and more powerful than an ant. You step on it, dead. God, if He wanted to snap His fingers, He wouldn't even have to snap His fingers. It would just happen if He wanted it to. Like, He could just wipe us all out, but He doesn't. Except for the times that He does, the flood and everything. But He has all the reasons why He would do that. Never out of hate. Do not entertain someone who's telling you that God is so hateful. Look at all the hateful things He did. You don't get to define what hate is for God. You are an ant. But I hope that put that in a little bit better perspective for you when you're just thinking, like, shouldn't we be able to know how God works and why He does what He does, and just why don't we understand God? Like, truly understand, like, how in the world could He have done this? We're not God. We're made in His image, but we're not God. We don't have that brain capacity. We literally aren't capable. He told us that no eye has seen what He has prepared for us in heaven, and He told us that no one has imagined. Like, we're not capable of comprehending this stuff. This is way, way, way bigger than us. I mean, I don't know how big God is literally, but, like, I don't know. Maybe, like, physically He's, like, literally, like, 1,000,000 times bigger than the earth. I mean, I don't know. We're little ants to God. Like, He loves us way more than ants. Trust me. Don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say. But God, don't disbelieve God just because you don't understand. Don't you know what faith is? And it's not blind faith, but faith, a big part of faith is just trusting Him even when you don't have all the answers. It's not that you can't have any of the answers. Look around you. We're living in one big answer. The world is an entire answer. And if that was all the answer God gave us, was just the world, that's all He would need. How else could you explain it? Your tiny little ant brain is going to come up with whatever a tiny little ant brain is capable of comprehending. And you aren't God. So you don't get to tell God that he is wrong or that he doesn't exist, because you are only given so much space in that little head of yours to even begin to know who God is. Even those of us who are his children, who follow him wholeheartedly, we know him, but we only know what he tells us. You know? We only get to know what he wants us to know. Isn't that just wild to think about? It's amazing. And once we get to heaven, we're going to know so much more. I don't know if we're going to know, like, literally everything. I mean, I don't know. But, like, we'll be able to comprehend way more than we can now. We'll be way bigger than ants. I don't know if we'll physically be, like, way bigger, but I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's just something that was on my mind, and I think someone probably needs to hear it. You know, I just, it's something I've thought about different times before. It's just like, we're literally just little ants to God when you really look at it from a grand scope of things. So don't try to put yourself in God's shoes and try to view things as if you were God. Because you're an ant. It's a bug's life. It's a small world after all. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's late. But I hope this made you think. Maybe gave you some new perspectives on things. Anyways, you are loved and you are created in God's image. And not everyone is his child. Everyone is made in his image. Remember that. But we're not all his children. You have to be basically adopted, really, into his family. And he's ready to sign the adoption papers for every single one of us. But we have to be willing to do that. You know, we have to be willing to be his child. And if you're no different than the world, you're not putting your trust in him. If you truly know God, personally, deeply, if you're putting any amount of faith in him, like you're truly trusting God, you know, you're not going to go out and do what the world does. And I'm not saying you're going to be perfect. And I'm only saying this from experience. I know a lot about being lukewarm, and it's not fun. I was the most miserable I could ever be. Not that I've been, that I could ever be. It was awful. It hurts to think about, but God didn't really know me. And that's weird to think about. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all these years later, and it's just like, he says, if you're lukewarm, if you're not hot for him, he will turn you down, and you will rot forever in the pit of darkness. And it would be unloving for me to not warn you about hell. People say, oh, you're Christians, you're just love to, I don't know, preach fire and brimstone and all this hate. And it's like, did you know Jesus talked a great deal more about hell than he ever did heaven? It's that serious. It's real. If you don't believe that, you don't know the Bible. And there's people that have read the Bible. Someone on Facebook in a comment, you know, an atheist, he was telling me, like, I've read everything. I've read the Quran and the Holy Bible and all these things, like, cover to cover. And it's not real. It's a joke. And it's like, you can't read it through that perspective, through that lens. You have to open your heart. You have to give your full heart to God. You have to trust in him with your whole heart. Because otherwise you're not going to get understanding from the Holy Spirit reading it, and it will just be words on a page to you. God bless you guys. Peace.